would like to extend a warm welcome to all to the fourth Women in Technology Leadership Speaker Series webinar on the theme Managing Organizational Change in the Digital Age. Technology is still not considered as a women's world. According to various reports and figures, women hold less than 27% of the leadership roles in major tech companies globally. The wedge is expected to go further, especially in the age of Industry 4.0, when most of the work would be automated and technology would take over. Therefore, as a chapter that envisions to create an empowered, innovative, and inclusive community that can leverage the power of existing and emerging internet based technologies to create an impact, ISOC Mumbai brings this special initiative, Women in Technology Leadership Series, to promote, celebrate, learn, and get inspired from women who are making a mark in technology leadership. In this fourth webinar of the series, we have a very special guest with us joining straight from Canada. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Sanjana Patil, Manager, HR Technology and Analytics, City of Hamilton. Sanjana is an accomplished senior human resource professional with over 25 years of extensive experience in HR, technology solutions, people analytics, HR matrix, and reporting. She started her career in HR with Tata's in India and then moved to Canada, where she worked with the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC, in various HR functions for over 14 years. For the last 3 years, she has been with Canadian government, the City of Hamilton, as Manager of HR Technologies and Analytics. She has led numerous HR business changes through automation and redesigning complex HR processes that enhanced performance. She was raised in the steel city of Jamshedpur, India. She has done her undergraduate in psychology from IB College, Delhi, master's from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, and is a certified HR leader and certified compensation professional. Welcome to this webinar, Sanjana. To steer this discussion, I would like to invite Internet Society India Mumbai founding president and volunteer Prateek Pathak, a former government consultant, legal academic, and tech policy researcher, was invited to present his work to Wharton Business School, Ronald Coase Institute, Hong Kong, and IIM Bangalore. Prateek currently works as a business strategy analyst at the chairman's office at Percept Media and Entertainment Limited, and is an analyst of how various organizations are changing in the digital era. Thanks for agreeing to be a discussant for the session, Prateek.
Thank you, Nandita.
For the audience, I request you all to keep posting your thoughts, comments, insights, questions in the chat box. You will be invited to ask questions from the speaker in the audience Q&A round. Till then, keep the chat box alive with your thoughts. May I now invite Prateek to begin the discussion with our highly inspirational guest. The stage is now yours, Prateek.
Thank you, Nandita. Sanjana, it is an absolute pleasure, to interact with you here. And, just to break a bit of ice, rather than getting into serious discussions, tell us 3 good things what people tell about you. Sanjana, you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Nandita, for the lovely introduction. I'm so happy to be here and having the opportunity to, share my experiences. So the 3 things, it's hard sometimes to, look at yourself and say, hey, I'm good at this and I'm good at that. But one thing I'm very passionate about is technology itself. I'm very, very passionate about anything I do, but more so when we are talking about technology at work, I'm very passionate about technology. I love learning new technology because I basically enjoy the roller coaster. Technology is, as much as it can help, it also has its hindrances, but I love it. So people say I'm sometimes can be very, passionate and aggressive about implementing technology and bringing about improvement in processes, which helps businesses. I've been a manager for a long time. So eventually I've evolved into being more a leader. I don't like to manage my team because I always assume that I am leading a team of mature adults and they are smart. So I like to empower them. I'm empathetic and I engage my team that way. So that's the good feedback I always get from my team members, that I'm extremely empowering, engaging, and empathetic to my team, and I help them to develop, coach in this field of technology in HR. Thank you.
That's very interesting, Sanjana. People look up to you as a coach, and they look at to you as a change agent in technology. So, can you tell us a bit about, how internet as a technology played an important role in, your personal and professional life? And did you have any advantage or disadvantage as, being a woman in this arena?
So, to start with, we are here because of the internet today.
Yes.
So many people across the globe, across oceans, across time, different time spans are here today meeting over internet. So internet today is like unavoidable. It's omnipresent. It's almost like taken over our lives. Well, like anything else, it has its pros and cons. But let's discuss more from the pros perspective. So in my personal life, oh my God, I love the internet because I've found so many lost friends. I've been able to keep in touch with my family. Doesn't feel that my family is sitting across the globe in countries like India or Australia or Europe. I can be connected to them all the time, and it is so inexpensive. I still recall when I was studying in TISS, even making a phone call to my mother was so expensive, right? The STD calls were like cut into my monthly pocket money that my mother gave. So now it's so inexpensive. You can be connected all the time. I found a lot of my friends. And so it's so good, so good. It's made life easy, fast, simple. And, internet has had a lot of impact on the social life of people, the economic life of people. It really helps with your knowledge and information, right? A lot of our day-to-day decisions also we make using the internet. Like if I had to buy a car, the first thing I do is look on the internet, which is the best car, what is best, bang for your buck kind of thing. So there are so many important decisions in your daily life that you make through the internet, right? And if you look at today, sometimes I wonder, as I started off by saying, technology, internet, digitalization, all of that is a huge help in our life, but then there are hindrances too, right? It has affected the way we communicate, the way we interact, the whole social setup of our society, right? So then again, both the pros and cons, it has a positive impact, it has a negative impact. And we are the smart, intelligent human beings who need to be able to kind of, filter the bad out of all of this and take the good. Personally, also, remember those days we used to maintain our nanny's recipe books? My God, the YouTube is such a brilliant technology. It just makes me look like so smart in front of all my friends when I do set out a dinner, a 5-course dinner, and it makes me look like a chef because I can use the internet to do all of this. The negative that I reluctantly bring forth is we are suppressing a lot of our gut feeling, because for everything, data, we go out to data, we go out to what internet is saying. A lot of things, there's so much information, overwhelming amount of information on the internet. And and a lot of it is even contradictory. So sometimes it's so hard to understand and really tell yourself, where do I stop? What is the right information? What do I use and what do I, eliminate and not use? So that is surely a lot of, I think filtering is required by all of us. And in the process, sometimes we do kind of minimize the knowledge of people around us who are sharing their experiences. And we go, no, internet says this. My son tends to say that to me all the time. If I say, do this, and he goes, oh, I just researched and this is not what it is. It's okay not to wear a mask now. It's okay to do this. So there's so much of minimizing of experiences what people are sharing because the internet says something different. And of course, family time has reduced. we are all the time on the internet, our phones, screens. We have reduced our family interaction, our personal interaction. And there has been studies to show that we are losing a lot of our focus and attention span because of the internet, because we keep jumping from one screen to another screen, to the phone, to the email, to doing work. So that has really become, a point of concern, that attention span of people, and especially the younger generation, has become really short. I'm sure you all know that there is a lot of sensitivity around, internet. People are so sensitive about what you say, how you say. So those are the cons, I would say, but there are more pros. And I like to say that internet has really helped us to progress where we want to take our next generation and the future of the world.
That's true. And, the internet helps us in myriad ways, by, it's like a tool which can be used positively as well as negatively, depending on how you use it. So, Sanjana, we wanted to understand, as an internet user, have you ever felt that, you have a certain advantage or a disadvantage just because you are a woman using the internet, whether it is at a personal space or a professional space, or you feel it is indifferent, it doesn't matter, what you are?
Mm, yes and no, because to be honest with you, today, I think the line between genders have really merged, right? Um, in terms of usage of technology, yes, our perceptions about gender is surely, it's going to take some time to change. But I think women are using technology equally the way men are. The only thing that I do see as a challenge with women still trying to being, I think it's many years of socialization and generations of upbringing of women to say, hey, we are the nurturers, we are the caregivers, we are the the soft people in the society, which in my mind is a great advantage of women. But we can also be, at the same time, I'm pretty sure you have heard, a lot of women get comments to say, you're extremely aggressive. And that is sometimes perceived as negative. Whereas if the same thing is told to the other gender, they tend to go, oh yeah, that is a positive thing. He is aggressive. He's a go-getter. He's so focused on his goals, kind of thing. Whereas when a woman is given that comment, it is perceived as negative. And sometimes women are their own, their own negative, I would say, lead to their own detriment. They will perceive it as negatively. And I think, no, we are equally go-getters. We are aggressive, and I like it. I like it that way. There is no harm in women being pushy, women being aggressive at work. And we need to be, if we want to be in that field of technology, because that is always changing so rapidly, so rapidly, that we have to be, pacing up ourselves to be in line with the new technology. We should be attending the latest, technology, studying about it, researching about it. So I have not personally, maybe it's more about the Western world, where I have been here for a long time. I've been almost I've been out of the country 25 plus years, India, which I still call my home. And I've been in the Western world for more than 15 years. So maybe that's why my perception about a woman and a man has really kind of not been so hardlined anymore. Here we are still encouraged to do things irrelevant of what your gender is, right? And so I think really we have to give up our own inhibitions as women. We have to start looking at ourselves as, yes, we can do everything that a man can do, and what men get as compliments is a compliment for us too. So I don't feel that way anymore. We have to, tune our own selves more than the society. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
Prateek?
yes, you did answer my question. Indeed, women are inspiring in a different number of ways. And, now getting, a bit more specific, to our topic of interest, which is about organizational change. Organizational change is tough. So, so in my past experience as a manager, as a leader, and, as well as working with leaders, a lot of it is word, but, it is always difficult to translate that words into an action. And here is, where, we wanted some of your perspective as a woman leader is, how has internet and these related technologies helped you to, break these organizational silos and, bring about change?
Right. So Nandita, I think you had given a comment in the introduction on LinkedIn that, man and machine, there has to be a balance between man and machine. First of all, we need to change that man, and we have to say people and machine. But there are a couple more M's that are important piece to that puzzle, and which is, the money, the measurement, and the management of the whole process. So it is, Prateek, change of mindset where we have to break these myths about people which we are holding on to, right? Especially now working in government, there are a lot of myths about, oh, we bring technology, we're going to lay off a lot of people. Work has to be done differently. This is where HR plays a huge role, because we are bringing in technology to engage employees, not to enrage them, right? We have to, look into the hands versus head versus heart. So we in HR have to play the head and the heart role, where, if you read a lot of research from Harvard and other, leading organizations and schools, they all are saying that the next generation of skills that we require is of people leaders. We require skills of being empathetic. We require skills of being, more caring and concerned about well-being, because technology will come. It will break those silos. It will impact those processes and how we do work. So we have to deploy a technology. But what we have to keep in mind is, a lot of times HR and women tend to go, let's transition things. And you will hear a lot of men in their technology will go, no, we don't want to bring transition, we want to transform. What does that mean? We don't want to lift and shift, We want to replace these transactions with real interactions. If you see, a lot of technology has brought in a lot of interaction with people, and that's where the heart comes in. We are trying to augment these machines with hands and heart and heads, where we want to give more time to our people to think more constructively, to use the human brains in thinking strategic, than to be just doing the handwork of repetitive work, manual work, mundane work, right? We want our heads to be used, not and our hands, because when we use our hands, we are somewhat putting our heads into doing that, repetitive work. We don't want people to do that. We want to bring in transformation where technology does that work, and use our head and heart to interact with people, to come close to people, to bring that collaboration with people, to see how we can do this better and be more empathetic, get more, go out and socialize with people and start thinking more strategically. Because let's be very honest, these technology upgrades and changes are because those people who are inventing and thinking differently are designing those or constructing those. So it's, after all, the human beings creating those technology. It's not technology creating technology. So we want those, we want our human beings, our people, to be getting out of those mundane repetitive work and doing more of the thinking, doing more of the socializing, doing more of the interaction, getting more ideas, getting more suggestions, and see how we can implement and improve those processes. Because machines can never replace human beings. They can never replace the human beings and the human heart that is the heart of organizational development and organizational, I would say, heartbeat of the organization. So people become the most important, part and asset of an organization. That's why if you think about it, we still say overhead cost is the highest in an organization. And when we try to break technology, automatically silos are broken. Because you have to work with IT, you have to work with your clients, you have to work with other departments to bring those technology in. Look at today's Zoom meeting. Today's Zoom has entered everybody's house, and we are seeing people in their drawing rooms, living rooms, kitchens. Their children are there, their pets are walking around barking, dogs are barking. It's no more one of those kindergarten kind of office meetings, right? Where it's so stringent, you just do what you got to do. Now we've become more human. Technology has stepped in, where Zoom is a technology, but it has brought people more close. Now I can see my CHRO more human because her kid is walking behind her. I perceive her more human now. I perceive her more human when her dog comes and puts his head on the table, her office table, and it's so cute. So, work will get done, but I think the human aspect will also come through, and we play a huge role as HR and, women, to bring in that human element along with it.
Sanjana, the Zoom example was a very interesting insight, wherein we suddenly realize that technology, in fact, makes us more human. It makes us more vulnerable, and, it helps us connect better than what it would earlier. And, this is where we would want to know a bit more now from, you don various hats. You have been an HR person, and now, you have worked across organizations, and you now work with the government. So this is a topic, which is very close to our heart. It's with regards to internet governance. Once you have technology, and especially technology like internet, it has to be governed in some or the other manner. And there are these key players like ISOC, ICANN, as well as individual government bodies who are involved in this internet governance structure. So as a government administrator, and with the government of Hamilton, what does internet governance say mean to you as a government administrator and say the citizens of Hamilton? And what kind of role do you see it to play?
Like we say the coin has two sides, right? Every coin has two sides, but we're missing out the coin itself, right? So the bottom line is, yes, coin has two sides, but we need the coin. So today, internet, as I said, is omnipresent. It's become almost like it's part of our life. We cannot do without it. And so governance comes with it. Why is a lot of times the word governance kind of almost gives a nervous and an allergic reaction to a lot of people. And they go, what does that really mean? There are two types of governance in my mind, I think. One is self-governance, which is, of course, women are kind of born with that kind of self-governance where they know, oh, this is the time to clean, this is the time to cook, this is the time to sit with my family, this is the time to, spend time with my kids, this is the time for homework. So we were kind of, I would say wired that way. That is self-governance. And then comes the governance, which we are talking about now, which probably you're more interested to know, is what does governance mean of the internet? Of course, in very, very layman's term, governance is all about the policies, the rules, the procedures that we are going to have to ensure that we are doing the right things at the right time via the right people, and all the checks and balances are in place, right? And in the government right now, I'm sure Nandita is also aware that Canadian government is still very, very conservative. It's not like the United States. And I know Europe is extremely conservative too, when it comes to internet and how technology and data is used and where it is, I would say, placed. So still there are a lot of rigidity around governance in the government. And I sometimes think that is pushing or regressing the government a little bit, but they don't worry much about it because we know government is not like the corporate world where you don't keep in line with the times and then you vanish. No, government will always be there. And that's why probably the government takes governance very, very rigidly, very, sometimes it's almost procrastinating and detrimental to their own progress. But we do take it extremely seriously because we are having a lot of data of people, our clients, which we call the whole community, plus our own people who work for the government. But now we have, because it is impacting us politically, economically, culturally, in so many ways, like government is so diverse in what we do. Organizations do, a couple of things. Like if I was in the banking sector, all we cared about was the bank, the financials of every employee or every client. But look at government, right from, garbage cleaning to roads, to traffic, to real estate, to society development in society, police, fire, everything is under the government. It's so diverse. So we need to literally take each of those, each of those functions and think governance very, very focused to that function. And that's why it takes a lot of time for governments to progress in their ways of doing things and becoming, what we would call more open to change. We are more conservative. We have to be. It took me also some time to understand that, to be honest with you, because we have a lot of data. We have a lot of confidential things. So along with being on this side of the table to form those policies and rules and regulations, we should be the ones to lead on those policies and procedures and regulations. Compliance and legal has become so important, and they are extremely crucial to be followed in everything that we do. So that's why we are a little bit conservative. We are a little bit slow in moving things in the direction of how we want to do work in the new world. And I said, there is a lot of mindset to be changed for, to design and deliver new technology, because we serve people right from the age of 100 to the age of 1 as a government. And there you have a person who's 80 plus. He doesn't know what internet is. He doesn't know what, smartphone is, what using an email means. Versus now you have a 20-year-old who says, oh my God, it's so difficult to do things with the government because it's so slow. It doesn't have the technology. So I now being in the government, I see that frustration from both angles. And it is not easy for us to have, to serve the new way of work to such a diverse population. So it is difficult, it is tough, but we are slowly working towards, trying to get to that point of balance where we can serve the younger population versus the not so young population, and the people who are aged and retired and do things differently.
That's interesting, Sanjana, and I would also like to share an experience for working with the city administration of Mumbai. And so what the Mumbai police is one of the arms of the government. And what they have done essentially is they have a very interesting Twitter handle. I would someday recommend you to go and have a look at that handle. And they come up with some very interesting tweets, very quirky and, interesting tweets through which, they try to engage the youth, as well as, some serious tweets, which are in place for the elder population. And a lot of governments, for that matter, nowadays are using technologies, internet-based technologies like say social media, and then virtual reality and a lot of these things. And I'm sure probably somewhere the city of Hamilton also will be exploring some of them. And this leads us to think now that we have heard your perspective on what all the challenges that you have faced as a government administrator. We would like to know as to how do you visualize, let's all sit in a time machine now and move 100 years later, say in 2100 AD or 2150 AD for that matter. We'll assume there is no corona, there is no Avengers remake wherein Thanos comes in and we're all out. So we'll assume all of us are safely transported into the future. How do you, as an HR and an analytics professional, view the government of the future? How do you think it will shape up?
So I don't know how it will shape up, but I certainly wish to see governments operate like corporations, where they make it easier to do business with them. And when I say business, means whether I have to get my driver's license, whether I have to get my passport renewed, whether I have to get a marriage certificate. So that is my, I would say my desire to see governments operate. You go to a banking organization run by government versus banking organization which is private, and you see the difference, and that's what, and automatically everybody's first reaction is, oh, I wish governments could operate like private sectors and corporations. But the biggest I would say, comfort zone for the government is, they never have this fear about, oh, I'm not going to be in business, right? In the private sector, it is about, if I have to be in business, I have to be doing the real business, right? And giving the best. So, but that fear governments don't have. So,
They aren't run by bottom line.
yes,
They're not run by
yes,
bottom line.
exactly.
They're run
I
by
didn't
public
want to,
purpose.
yeah, I didn't want to sound a little, a bit harsh on that. So I just kind of was, a little bit soft on the fact that governments don't have to worry about being in business. Okay. And this is the reason that they don't aggressively progress towards operating like corporations, right? But then we have to start moving from more administrative kind of mentality, I would say, or operating style, to more service model, right? Where we give good service, where we we stick to our timelines, we simplify our processes, automate our processes, and make it easier for from whether a person at the age of 20 is doing something versus at the age of 90 is doing something. So we meet expectations of our clients. And right now, actually, I really think even meeting expectation of clients is not good enough. We need to exceed everybody's expectations. And we have to put ourselves into different shoes and start asking those questions, that how can we meet expectations or exceed expectations of our clients, which range from 0 to 100 in an age band, right? So we need to have a good service model around our service, around our delivery of services. Plus, I think we need, especially in the government, a culture of learning and a culture of listening. If you have experience, whether it is in India, and believe me, governments across the globe are not much different. You might be thinking that India is not good, government is not doing enough. It's not really much different even here. And the reason being, governments don't have a culture of learning, a culture of development, a culture of listening. So if I turn around and say, hey, I don't like this, someone across the table should be able to say, hey, what do you think will make it better? Do you have suggestions? Can you tell me, can you give me some good suggestions to improve my processes? And take that as a positive feedback and change how we do stuff, and how we can make our processes more consumer grade processes, where, it's not about just implementing technology. Technology is a tool. We need to give a good experience, which is digital. We need to go digital in our experience. It's the digital which makes the experience a better experience, right? Today, we don't say, already, I'm sure you all know, we don't call it human capital management. We call it human experience management, because it is all about the experience that we want to give to our clients and our people and our own employees, who are our first clients, actually, our internal clients. So governments need to change that way. If we look at 100 years from now, we need to operate like corporations. We need to have consumer grade kind of digital experience, and improve our listening, learning, development approach and attitude. Not the fact that we are scared of the change. We are nervous about the change all the time. Failure doesn't mean that we cannot improve things. Of course we can. And that's the best way to learn, I think, is to fail on something and then say, hey, we'll improve it. So finally, my closing statement to the government would be that we need to get out of, very mundane, repetitive, drudgery kind of processes, and make our processes more digital, more intelligent, more intuitive, more human-centric kind of processes, and help government to adopt more behavioral skills and approach where it's flexible, agile, adaptable, learning approach kind of thing. So that's what I think will help us to move to the next century, if that's what we want to call it. And then, of course, finally, I would like to end, because I love data. Government has tons and tons of data because we are collecting that data from our community. We should really make use of that data, because what gets measured gets managed. We all know that. Look at that data, and that data will speak to how we can improve our processes. How should we, because we are the stewards of work. We are going to be the next generation's work stewards, right? So how do we want to use this data? So data literacy is extremely important. And with that, of course, comes in, again, your compliance, your privacy, your security, all of that. We need to use that data to work smarter, how we can become more productive, right? And then probably that will also help us to see how we can reskill our people, how we can make them more resilient, more, even data for that matter, for our emotional intelligence, for our emotional well-being, because we can use that data to see, and like now today, COVID's data says a lot of people there's an increase in suicide rates. So that is a data for us to use to see how we can connect with people, to give them that emotional support and for mental well-being, right? So of course, data literacy is the next gen skill that is going to be most important and vital. And finally, of course, diversity and inclusion. Let's hear everybody. It's, it's not about women, men, black, white. It's about everybody brings in their right flavor and the different flavors, which make it so rich and so important. So I think we need to get, and I take a lot of pride to say that, especially sitting in the Western world, that, our Indian DNA is so diverse and inclusive. It's in our DNA. It comes so naturally to us. We don't have to think about it. So let's make that our huge strength to, forge ahead in every which way in this world.
Well said, Sanjana. You have actually covered a lot of points, when you mentioned, when you talked about the government, you have talked a bit about, the government as a learning agent, the fact that government has to be more of a friend, someone who curates an experience to you, is warm and, is much more empathetic. And, finally, you also gave a clarion call for data literacy, which helps us to interact better with the government. Now I would like to throw the floor open, because you have raised such, variety of interesting points. So I would now like to invite Priyamvada, to probably help us through a bit of audience queries. And, if they have, we can go through some queries from the audience. So Priyamvada, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Prateek. Shah. So thank you, Sanjana. That was a great session. I mean, you have explained such, I would say, such complicated concepts so beautifully and with such examples that I had goosebumps. I was really overwhelmed. So thank you very much for such a great session. I can see that there are a couple of questions in the chat. So what I'll do is that I'll begin with them. And for the others, what I'd say that please raise your hands, and then I'll probably call out names from the participants, and then we can proceed with those questions. Sanjana, the first question that we have in the chat, so that is, according to your viewpoint, what is basically the main difference between governance and e-government? And I think there is a follow-up question on that, and how do policies align with e-governance? So I would say concentrate on the first question, which is what's the difference between governance and e-government?
Okay. Oh, there is a clear difference. So governance is about how you're going to manage how you will manage in terms of, say, if I, let me go with an example. I love analogies. So if you give your 14-year-old child an iPhone, and you tell your child that, okay, you can use it for 2 hours a day. You can use it from this to this time. You can use it after you've done your homework. You will not bring it to the dining table when we're having dinner. You are not going to, take it to school. Now, this is governance, where you've put out the rules, you've put out the policy, you have given the timing, you have set out everything very clearly to him or her or they. Now, what is e-government? That tool, that iPhone itself, is having all the technology. The person can chat. The person can do emails. The person can watch YouTube. The person can be on social media, right? Send messages, apply, watch a movie, apply for a, college, university, whatever. Now, those are tools that are, or technology that is available in the iPhone for him to do. That is where the processes have been electronically included in the system. So your e-government is where you will have all those digital processes to apply for a license, to apply for a marriage certificate, to apply for I want to go and put a complaint against waterlogging next in my society, or whatever is being managed by the government, complaints, inquiries, whatever. So that is e-government. So all my processes are online. All my processes are electronic, is e-government. Now, there are also policies and rules and all of that of how I'm going to approach whether, so I'm going to also tell my child, when you write an email, don't use abusive language. When you do a Twitter, be respectful. When you, go on to Instagram, don't, use any language that can hurt someone, be sensitive to people. So those are rules to the processes and procedures that are on e-technology. And governance is only about policies and procedures and rules around everything that you have in terms of digitalization and what you bring technology for your processes when you're automating those processes and procedures of the day-to-day work.
Great. Thank you for a great answer. I think that really defines the difference between e-governance, defines the difference between government, e-government and governance. So thank you very much for that. Due to paucity of time, I'll quickly move on to the next question. The next question is, given in HR, you're privy to so much of personal and sensitive data of people, government officials and other entities. How do you ensure that privacy is safeguarded? So I think that it's a really important question, since you spoke so much about internet governance. Over to you.
Oh, absolutely. This is so important. Yes. So that's where governance comes into place. We have access to a lot of information and data. Like I said, there is always pros and cons. Trust is one of the key things that we assume with people who are observing the data. There is a lot of procedures and policies, legislations, forms, and that's where, as I mentioned in the beginning, sometimes it's difficult for governments to become like corporations because there's so much we are handling, and we have to be extremely careful about what data is allowed to be seen, what is privacy and not privacy, how to manage the security. The security of security managing data is, to me, very black and white. You either see it or you don't, okay? There are some things that, we allow people to see, but with a caveat where we have, we make it a little bit difficult, and that is done on purpose, where we have layers of permissions established to say, hey, if you want to see this data, you need to get me, permission from your manager, from your director, from your general manager. And we make it a little bit difficult. And that is all, the whole standard operating process is purposely convoluted so that we can maintain that privacy, we can maintain that, security of data. And in a way, we are kind of, in a very subtle way, pushing back without really saying we don't want to give you the data because it is dangerous for us to give the data. Who's taking responsibility of the safety of this and privacy of this data? So yeah, we have our own, a lot of processes, a lot of forms, a lot of policies around literally data elements. We get down to literally data elements where we say, oh, can we share married, not married? Can we share gender? Can we share age? Can we share date of birth? Can we? And then we ask them the purpose of asking for that data. Why are you asking? Is it going to impede your work or your project if we don't give you this data? So we are very, very conscious about how we share data, with whom we share data, what we share, and we make it difficult to give certain data. We do make it difficult in HR because, hey, we are the custodians and the gatekeepers. So we have to be like that. We have to be firm. And in the process, it does get sometimes difficult because some people take it almost for granted that, oh, I am the general manager and I need to see that data. For example, a lot of times managers will come back and say, hey, we want to see the data end to end for my direct report. And we ask them, why do you need to see anything more than what you're seeing in employee self-serve? Why do you need to see the sick data for your employee? Why do you need to see the grievance data for your employee? Because those will create mental biases, right? I don't need to share their medical health data, or I don't need to share their grievances, which happened in the past, because you have to give opportunity to human beings to be able to assimilate in society in a normal way without people having biases in their head against them. Do you know that in Canada, and I think that is everywhere, I'm not sure about India, but in Canada, even with an employee with criminal record, if they have served their sentence, they have a right to assimilate into the workforce and society like a normal human being. And I think that is very good, and that is important because you cannot have people being isolated and left and not be a part of the society. That will create bigger problems. right? So yeah, we do have a lot of strict guidelines, policies, rules, and procedures to ensure we do our due diligence in before sharing any kind of data, especially employee data and HR data with even executives, with managers and anyone.
Sure. Thank you very much. So I think I will, due to we are coming towards the
I
end of
guess,
the session, and I think
Priyamvada, you can take this one
Shaka.
question, like probably if Smita is, sorry, Sanjana is fine with it, we can extend it by 5 minutes because I do see
We
a
okay.
question by Sharon and there's one by Shweta. So probably these two last questions, and then we can close the session if it's all right with Sanjana and Priyamvada.
I'm okay.
So,
All right,
thank you.
great. Thank you very much, Sanjana. So the next question that we have in the chat is, sometimes people, organizations assume that once you bring in technology, all the problems will be solved. And very often teams don't understand that technology is a tool, and it's only when the people work on technology that we get the results. How do you manage this kind of mindset?
Absolutely. Oh my God, this is such a common problem. One is one size fits all. Two is I bring this technology and everything will be solved. No technology or nothing can solve all your problems. Not one technology can solve all your problems. And remember, we will have different problems that will come up when you bring one technology, because technology will come with its own problems. And, and then there will be newer things that will come up. Of course, that makes life very exciting. I believe that way. And I agree that, organizations believe that when I'm spending $1 million on a technology, woof, all my problems gone, everything will be hunky-dory. What you need to start is when you are having that initial conversation about bringing the technology itself. Remember that there are 4 pillars that you have to always consider before bringing in technology. And what we talked about is people, processes, technology, and then, of course, the whole life cycle of all of these maintenance. Now, processes and the technology itself, you can absolutely address. People change and people bring in their own risks. There are a lot of risks attached to people, which is not predictable, which can never be predictable. Human beings are so dynamic, they're so diverse, that there will be things that will come up which you have never considered. So we need to let our, when we're having those strategic conversations, to help people, I would say, executives or your sponsors and stakeholders know that there will be certain issues that will not be addressed. This will address this. Beyond this, there could be things that we have still not covered. So there is always that risk. And there could be something totally new that we have not even envisioned today. Who had envisioned COVID? We did not. Nobody did. It happened. So there are things that happens. Yes, work and organization will go on, but there is no perfect solution for anything. Okay, and certainly not, we cannot consider that a technology will solve all our problems. No. Then we wouldn't have so many technology itself, right? So it's a constant improvement. It's constant development of processes and, probably even FAQs and questions to be answered. There's constant work in progress with everything we do. We can't say we have done, we are good now. We can sit back and relax. No, it's never like that. It brings in different challenges.
Sure. Thanks, Sanjana, for answering that so well. I think I will just take this last question, Namta, if that is okay, or if there.
No, I guess you can take Shweta's because we said two more. So I guess I can see
So
Shweta has raised hand.
I will take Shweta's question, and then there's another question by Parvez in the chat. So Shweta, you can unmute yourself and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Priyamvada. I'm audible.
Yes.
First of all, thank you, Sanjana, for taking out your valuable time on a Saturday morning like this and addressing a small group of ISOC India Mumbai. And personally, I love this discussion, the way you engaged with us. Okay, being from an academic background, the word empathetic leadership caught my attention the most. And I always thought empathy is something which is very intrinsic. So can you elaborate more on this kind of leadership or any extrinsic skills? How do we develop empathy?
So, there's being a psychology student myself, first of all, in our own mind, we need to differentiate between empathy and sympathy. Okay. Empathy is when you are in the same shoes of the person, versus sympathy is when you are, just doing a verbal comforting consolation kind of a, conversation with the person, where you go, I really feel sorry for you. Oh, I'm, it's hard, it's difficult. That is sympathy. What empathy is, when someone comes with a problem to you, you go, it might sound more harsh, but you almost kind of cut out the emotion to the problem. So now that is the only time you can be empathetic, when you cut out the emotion and you go, okay, so I understand you are, sad, unhappy, nervous, struggling. I think you are struggling with this, and you really pinpoint at the task itself or the problem itself. Remove the emotion. And you say, okay, especially in a workforce kind of a situation, work situation, where you say, okay, so I think you are having a difficult time, collaborating this data and bringing it all together, merging it, or understanding how to do this. This is what is causing your stress. And the person will go, yeah, you know what? I have had even people where they've said, oh, I don't know how to do a VLOOKUP. I don't know how to do a concatenate in Excel. And then that whole thing comes out which is skill related, which is task related. And that's when you become empathetic and you go, okay, how can I help you and teach you this? Let me hold your hand. So now you're putting yourself in that person's shoes and going, this is really your problem, which is causing you the stress. Okay, so cut out that emotion and then hold the person's hand and say, I will help you to do this. I will show you how we can do it. And sit down with the person and say, you know what? I remember those days when I was starting up and I had these challenges. And now I'm going to help you how to do it. And I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to teach you, and then you're going to go back and practice and learn it and take notes and learn it and keep it in your back pocket so that you never forget. That is being empathetic. You get into their shoes. And if I don't know, you realize everything that I talk, I like to bring in a lot of analogy. I like to really use, I hate using big words. Like a lot of times, as you said, governance. Governance sounds like a very big word, but what it is really, it is about really putting down those tasks that need to be done. What do I need to do to have, what kind of rules I need to have? What kind of policies I need to have? What is policy? Policies is, again, defining those rules. So it's really about breaking it down into simpler tasks, which leads into that bigger word called governance, right? So I like to break it down into simpler task and how we can implement it, what kind of forms we need, what is the process, what would be a standing operating procedure. So make it more simple so it's easier for people to kind of connect, and then implementation becomes easier and doing that work becomes easier. Did I answer that question for you, Shweta?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Thanks, Shweta, for the great question, and thank you, Sanjana, for a great answer. So the last question for today is, what should be the role of government in increasing women participation in the field of technology?
I think it is not the role of government, it is our role. We need to give up our inhibitions. We need to learn to take risk. We need to get out there and say, I can do it. It is not rocket science, ladies. It is not. It is, a little bit more reading, a little bit more challenging yourself, a little bit of, I would say, more overconfidence, right? I think we are our own enemies. We are our own detriment to our own success. It's not, we always tend to project it, what will others do for me? No, what can I do for myself? And just be confident, just be, we always worry about how we will get perceived or how I will be perceived. I will be perceived as stupid. If I ask that question, they'll think, how stupid am I? No, you're not. Please ask those questions. Please brave it up. You are not weak. Take those bold steps. Have that confidence that even if I fail, I'm not bad. It's okay to fail. It's okay to say that incorrect thing. And it's okay to apologize. So, you know what? We need to do it. We don't have to put that responsibility on anybody else. We have, and I can tell you, if we can do everything, and maybe because we have a lot of women out there, we do the most difficult task of having kids and bringing up, making a home and doing all of that. I don't see technology being a difficult one. We have to break that glass ceiling. So it's the responsibility is with us, not with anybody else. Nobody will give you that chance if you can't say, I want that chance. And push those barriers.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjana. So it did inspire me, personally speaking. So I'm sure that all the participants in this session have been really inspired by your kind words, and they've been your kind and inspiring words. So we hope to interact with you again in future. In the interest of time, I will hand over to Firoza now, so that she can deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you. So as we come to an end with our discussion today, I'd like to thank our speaker Sanjana for taking the time out to engage with us on such a pertinent and relevant topic. Furthermore, thank you to Prateek and to Priyamvada for guiding and moderating the discussion respectively and ensuring that our webinar took place smoothly. And a vote of thanks for Juisha's support in rapporteuring for this webinar as well. And thank you to Nandita and Shweta for organizing this talk. We greatly appreciate the audience who has joined us today, including our chapter members and leaders of various ISOC India chapters from Trivandrum, Sri Lanka, and Hyderabad. And lastly, thank you to Jolly, who has joined us from ISOC Live today. With this, I'm going to request participants to please turn on their cameras so that we can take a final photo for the end of this session. All right, in one.
Possible, everybody can switch on their cameras, and 5 seconds we can take a clip.
So before I mute myself, thank you so much for having me. I really had a great session and would love to share and anything valuable that I can and also hear from all of you. Thank you.
Just one thing, Sanjana, if anyone wants to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? So probably an email ID or a LinkedIn request.
Yes, Nandita has my email ID, and Nandita, you can share my yahoo.ca email ID, and I would be more than happy to answer any other questions you have.
Sure. I'll do that.
Back to Firoza. We're all ready for a photo.
Taking it in 1, 2.